Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. We're just taking a few minutes out of the day here to go over the ins and outs and pros and cons and everything you need to know about understanding what a metro district is or special taxing district. So we just want to jump on here real quick and go through a few things. So I'm Jim Dixon with Lydia's home team. We're with Remax Alliance, and with me today is obviously Lydia Creasy, and Sherry Brown. Just a few things we'll be going over. Just an introduction to what a metro district is and what it is not, how prevalent the districts are, how they're funded, the financial impacts of residents when they're buying and selling the houses that fall within the metro district, some legal considerations and disclosures that you need to be aware of for those transactions, and then just some common concerns for buyers and sellers.
Okay. So the big question is, what is a metro district? Well, as Jim kind of mentioned there a second ago, metro district, special taxing district, kind of one and the same. They can be used as far as the term goes intermittently. So what it is a metro district is a funded, how do I say this? Um, when a builder goes into a new development area and they decide we're going to build this many homes in this area, we have this amount of land. There's a couple of ways that they can obviously fund that building and that development. The first way would be to go to the city and say, hey, we have this plan. We'd like to build homes here, but we need roads, we need a sewer line, we need electric, we need telephone lines. Well, not so much telephone lines anymore, but maybe cell service. We need those things installed for the infrastructure. Will you pay for it? And the city is going to say, well, we don't have that money in our back pocket. So we can throw out onto a ballot for our whole area. So for the entire city. So let's say Arvada, the whole city of Arvada could vote on it and say, yeah, I don't want to pay on my taxes to build new homes over there. So the only real way to actually get a new development paid for is by creating bonds that are sold and become a special taxing, a metro district. Those bonds are paid for over a period of time through your taxes for those specific homes that metro district built. So to give you an example of, I'll just say Candelas in Arvada. They go in, they ask for that money to be prepared. It's going to take care of, again, not all of the infrastructure, but a good portion of it. A third of it is usually what it rounds up to be. They're going to help with the roads installed, the sewer, the water, the parks. And all of those have to be determined ahead of time. So some communities will have community centers, they'll have pools, they'll have fitness centers. Others will have nothing. So that is going to be the difference between each metro district. And for every metro district, there's at least 20 of them in the Front Range community or area, and all the major ones are all done a little differently. So again, a metro district is a little different than an HOA. So you have two different things going on there. Again, if they're needed just to get those buildings started. Otherwise, if a builder is going to pay for them, they're going to pass them on to that cost on to the buyer of each house, which they anticipate is about $150,000 to $200,000 per lot, which is quite a bit of money when you're buying a new house. You're buying the new house, you're buying all of those things. You know, $200,000 in addition would be a lot. So that amount of money actually gets stretched over a period of time. Colorado caps the length of time a metro district can be in place to 40 years. So they usually are 30 to 40 years in length. A service plan is created, a board of directors is created. And all of that is created ahead of time to be put into place for that development. So again, it's over a longer period of time. The only people that are impacted are the people that live in that area. And that's how this new area gets funded. And so that's why it's so prevalent in Colorado at this point, because we have grown so much and we still need a lot more growing to do to get everybody in. You guys have anything to add on that? Okay, as I said, the prevalence of metro districts they're the top 20 communities in the area. All have metro districts. But again, they're all very, very different. Some of them can incorporate the HOA. Some of them will have a completely separate HOA. Green Valley Ranch, for instance, their HOA cost is built into the special taxing district cost. Other places, you'll have both the HOA and you'll have the HOA cost and you'll have the Metro District tax. If you want to know if you're in a special taxing district, you can find that on your tax assessment. It'll list RTD tax, this tax, this tax, this tax, and you'll see a mill levy for your special taxing district, and that's how you'll know it's on there. But again, you may question how long it's going to be for, and you can look that up. Each metro district in the area does have a website. You can look it up, find out how long it's going to be in place for, till what year, and how that is turned out. So the key considerations are that you're going to end up with a higher tax bill. And the one great thing about a metro district and is that it'll be a tax. It won't be an HOA fee. Keep in mind, taxes are maybe tax deductible depending on your situation. I'm not a tax accountant, but they can be. So it'll be built into your taxes. But that's why if you go around the Denver area, older areas, they're either had a metro district and they've been discharged, or they were built in a different time and place and didn't have any of those things happen. So you may be in Broomfield, for instance, and you may have a $3,500 a month, $3,500 a year tax assessment on your $700,000 house. Same Broomfield, different area, has a metro district, and they may be up to $6,000-7,000 a year for taxes. So it can make a very big financial impact. Again, are you using those resources? If they do include a clubhouse, all those things have to be determined when you're making a decision on whether you want to buy a new build or not. So those are really important considerations on how they can work. Funding. So again, we kind of talked about why finance through a metro district. It gets those important infrastructure things in place. It distributes the costs of those amenities across all future residents. And again, that tax does stay with the home. So it's not just the person who bought it at the first time. If it goes to resale, that tax stays with the house. So when we're looking at resale homes, we also want to make sure that the new buyer understands what that special taxing district includes and how much it's going to be. When you're buying a new build, they disclose it up front. They will tell you that taxes are going to be approximately 1.2% of the sales cost. They'll say that's going to be your per year taxes. So if you're buying a $700,000 house and it's 1.2% of that, you're going to be looking at a $800,000 or $7,000 to $8,000 tax bill at the end of the year. So when we're trying to decide whether that makes sense for you, that's how it's figured out. The mill levy is different. So when you're looking at the tax assessment on your tax bill, it's all just can be done by rates and different things, but that mill levy won't ever change. So it'll always be, your tax ratio might change as things happen. But that's a whole nother conversation on how taxes are decided. But the metro district, the mill levy in itself won't change throughout the period. You can count on that mill levy being whatever it is at the beginning. So if it's 30 mills for your metro district per year, that's what it's going to be going forward for the duration of the whole 30 to 40 year metro district. Like I said, Colorado does cap it at 40 years, so eventually it will be discharged.
All right, well, I'm going to jump in and talk a little bit more about the financial impacts on buyers and sellers. So obviously, what it all comes down to is what this translates to as far as somebody's budget on a monthly basis and a yearly basis. How is it going to affect somebody's budget? Um, So kind of going back to Sherry's example, like if it was a $700,000 house and there was no metro district or special taxing district in place, like we may see taxes that are like 0.75% of either the assessed value or the last market sale. So, then maybe the additional tax that you're paying that's rolled into your mortgage payment if you're escrowing your taxes is going to be, $500 to $600 a month. However, like if it's a brand new area with a special taxing district in place, and those percentages are closer to 1.4, you could be adding another $500 to $600 a month, every month to what your monthly payment is. So that's why, this is all great information, but just to kind of give you an idea of like how it could change your payment, on a monthly basis is super helpful as you're budgeting, because you have to take into account, you're in these communities, you're still going to have an HOA fee. Usually it's fairly minimal if the taxing district is higher. So you'll have your HOA fee, you'll have your taxes, you'll have your interest, you'll have your principal, and your insurance as well. So all those things come into play. So then where it kind of comes down to is that you're evaluating homes that you might be interested in purchasing, or maybe you're selling a home that's 5 years old because you no longer need those amenities. So that's just something to consider as you're evaluating areas. Um, a lot of times, to kind of give you an example, like when we're out looking at properties and their new construction, clients might have the comment that, like I'm buying this $750,000 house and, I have basically no yard. So that's like another way that builders are kind of trying to offset some of these costs is you're building more homes in a smaller area so that they can capture some of these infrastructure costs that need to happen. So then, somebody may look at those homes and say, that's not for me. I do want to go back to an older home, maybe doesn't have these amenities that are right in the neighborhood, but I have a bigger yard. And it's just a catch-22 as far as what's most important to you. So those are a lot of the things that will help people walk through as they're in this process. I think, do you guys have anything to add to that? I think I guess one other thing too is, you have to kind of consider that maybe an amenity is super important to you, but it may or may not be important to the next buyer. So by purchasing, in that community, you may or may not restrict the type of buyer that would be interested in that community, which I guess was kind of an example with the yard as well. So, okay. Let's talk a little bit about the legal considerations of this. So, if you are selling a house, super important that we disclose that it is in a metro district. Each metro district has their own website, so it can go in the contract. The buyer has a chance during their due diligence to review all that information. And then similarly with HOA information, they kind of go hand in hand. So when a buyer is interested in purchasing a property, we're looking at that special taxing information as well as the HOA information. So you get a total picture of who is responsible for what and how much for each of those different things. I think, one thing that we had kind of talked about offline a little bit too is just sometimes it's confusing with a special taxing district. They cover X, Y, and Z, maybe a pool, for example, but then the maintenance of the pool might fall to the HOA. So it's important to understand, not necessarily just what it's going to be right now, but what it will be in the future and how they plan to allocate those funds. See, did you guys have any other thoughts on that one? feel free to jump in if there's anything I missed. Okay, so lastly, before we kind of move on to Jim, common buyer and seller concerns. So for our buyers, obviously you're going to want to have all this information so that you can make an educated decision. From a seller's perspective, you're wanting to make sure that you're disclosing this information. And if you're, if you're in a community, it might be something that you consider when you go to sell a property, because again, you may or may not be using those amenities any longer. So we are here to help with like guiding on any of these issues. It is kind of convoluted and complicated, but we're here to help with any of those things. And I think really what it comes down to more than anything is just understanding your budget so that you're not, going along year 1 and 2 and then have an increase on any of the fees, honestly, and just feel like it's something that you can no longer afford. And we do see that on a regular basis right now. Just people are kind of in position where, things have accumulated as far as cost across the board, and things keep going up, and then they feel like it's something that they can't do anymore. So we are here to help just discuss any of that, help you find the answers that you need. And if it's something that you just want information about, we can kind of guide you to what your Metro taxing district is for your area. So with that being said, I know we talked a lot about the various aspects of this, but just to kind of summarize, Jim's going to go through just the pros and the cons of having a special taxing district before we finish off.
Yeah, so just kind of sum it all up and give you kind of the Reader's Digest version here. Some of the pros, I think the biggest pro is, when you look at an HOA fee versus the Metro district fee, that's all compiled into your taxes, whereas the HOA fee is not. So like Sherry mentioned before, a lot of times those, it's all ingrained in your property tax. So that's all a write-off on your income tax, whereas a HOA fee is not. So again, something to talk to your tax accountant about, but those numbers do get up there quite a bit higher for the property tax that you pay in a metro district versus not being in a district. So it could have some benefit there, and your HOA fee is lower, so that's a plus as well. But really the main thing is it's allowing a tailored service to the community. So instead of asking for a tax for the whole city that other people are going to be paying, even for a neighborhood that they might not ever even drive into, the people paying for these amenities are just your neighbors and other residents of that community. So that's a big plus for that. And they're really responsive too. So, instead of having to go to the city or county for something that needs attention, you should know or be able to easily access who the board members are and who to contact for anything that comes up. So that's another pro. On the other side, apparently any votes on ballot measures for metro taxing districts have a low voter turnout. So I think in an election like we're experiencing now, where it's a presidential election, there might be more voters and people who do pay attention to even the smaller issues that are on there versus the ballots that come out on the other cycles when it's not a presidential election, might not get as much attention. So I definitely take some things that you need to stay tuned to see, what's going on in your district and what you are or are not voting for. And then accountability. Apparently with the special districts, they can have lower accountability to the voters just because they're hard to notice, and citizens might have a hard time figuring out who's in charge of those. So again, we're not experts on metro tax districts, but we are experts in the real estate field. So we have a lot of tools and ability to research things for our clients, and we're happy to help you find out who you might need to contact for anything to do with your metro taxing district, or if you are looking to buy or sell in a place that is part of a district, we can obviously get those questions answered for you as well. So it doesn't look like we have any questions in the box right now. Obviously, not everybody who watches this is going to be live right now with us, as we did record it for you to be able to watch on your own time. So if you do have any questions that pop up, feel free to give us a call, email, text message, whatever your preferred method of communication is there, and we'll do our best to help you out.
Good.
Thanks everybody for joining.
Thank you.
Great rest of your day.